Blow up a balloon, then grab some wood slices. Take 2 wood slices and glue the sides together using a low-temp glue gun. Let the discs bend slightly so they follow the curve of the balloon. To fill in, glue smaller-sized wood discs into these spaces. Once you have all the discs where you want them and the glue has set, pop the balloon. I styled my new wood slice bowl by laying some moss on a tray and nestling the wood slice bowl on top. Then I added a beautiful pink orchid for a stylish kitchen display.
The next time you're browsing the toy aisle at Dollar Tree, don't pass by these plastic wiffle balls. And I'm going to take just some scrap fabric that I had laying around. I'm going to start with a bead of hot glue on my plastic wiffle ball, letting it set, and then pulling the fabric nice and tight. I'm going to wrap it around the wiffle ball. Then I'm going to glue that end down, and I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again, just overlapping my fabric a little bit each time. I've placed mine here in this wooden dish with my other decorative balls, and it just adds that nice pop of color. Next time you're at Dollar Tree, grab one of these square clear plastic containers, a round garden dish, and some of these silver and white plates from the wedding aisle. And then I also had these wooden candle holders. I'm going to use a little bit of E6000 to secure them into place, and then I'm going to let this securely set. I'm also going to take the round garden dish and I'm going to glue that with the E6000 on top of the candle holders. Once it's dry, I took this appliance epoxy spray paint and I gave it a good coat. Then I'm going to take my plastic plate and I'm going to glue it to the front using the E6000. And then I'm going to give the whole thing a spray with this gray chalk paint. And then I'm going to come in just with some gray acrylic paint. I'm going to give it some texture on the sides, as well as working in some black to give it a little bit of definition. Metallic spray paint, and I also sprayed the garden dish on the top, and then I came in with some white paint and I just dry brushed it on. I decided for the bottom part I wanted to add a little bit of a bright color, so I used this dune grass from Country Chic paint and I lightly patted over top. I next came in with this metallic paint. I did end up taking the plate off the front part because it was easier to work with. Then I took some Mod Podge and I printed off a vintage scale face and I Mod Podged that into the middle of the plate. Then I took this and glued it back onto the front part. What I'm left with here is an adorable vintage looking scale, and all with pieces from Dollar Tree.
Start to paint your pots and saucers with a matte finish paint or chalk paint. Take a paper napkin and separate the 2-ply layers. Draw a circle and cut it out with scissors. Take the saucer and brush the decoupage glue so the bottom and sides of the saucer are covered. Place the paper napkin circle and press down in the center and smooth the napkin out. Dip a small paintbrush in water and brush along the top of the saucer. Add a final layer of decoupage glue. Take a strong adhesive glue and place a ring of glue. Place the saucer on top of the bottom of the pot. You now have a beautiful clay pot candle holder.
The next time you're at Dollar Tree, make sure you head to their frame section and grab some of these gold frames. I'm then going to come in with some wire cutters and I'm going to pull out the black tabs that keep the backing on. Then I'm going to take out the glass and I'm going to come with some E6000 and I'm going to glue the glass inside the frame. Then I'm going to come and take 8 of the frames and I'm going to glue 2 of them together. And then I'm going to clamp them together and I'm going to let this set overnight. I came back the next day, removed all my heavy objects that I placed on top, and then as well removed the clamps from all the frames. So I'm going to glue all the sides and then I'm going to just raise them up here and build a rectangular shape. So 2 frames on each end and then the 2 that are glued together for the sides. I'm going to let this set overnight again, making sure that the glue is really solid. And then I'm just going to come in and finish it up with a nice A-frame top with my remaining 4 frames. And now I have one of those gorgeous A-frame terrariums that you see at high-end decor stores that I made for as little as under $10 and the cost of some glue.
Quick trip to my local Dollarama. Separate the layers, cut the napkin so that you have enough to cover the body of the jar. Now I'm using some clear glue mixed with a tiny amount of water, painted onto the side of the glass jar. Then lay down the paper nap and then using a piece of scrunched up plastic wrap, use that to pat down the napkin and eliminate any wrinkles that way. Draw around the lid because that will be the right size and cut out the piece of napkin, stick it to the bottom of the jar in the same way. Using the same process, cut out a circle for the top and a little strip for the edge and stick it in place. When it was dry, I decided to give it 2 coats of a gloss varnish. I have taken a battery-operated puck light and stuck it into the lid of the glass jar. And here are my finished chinoiserie jars. Don't they look great?
I saw some candles from Pottery Barn. I thought it'd be fun to try making them myself. I'm going to put a little glue into a small container and then add a bit of paint. Now that I have the glue tinted, I'm going to paint it all over the glass dish on the outside. I'm going to leave these for a few hours before moving on. Using some Mod Podge, I'm going to paint it around the dishes. I can sprinkle the white glitter all over it, and then when it dries, the glitter will stay in place. I grabbed these pillar candles from the dollar store, and I'm going to melt them down. I'm just going to use a couple of skewers to hold the wicks in place. I want to add some essential oil to give my candles a beautiful scent. It's time to fill the glass dishes. The final thing to do is to remove the skewers and then trim the wicks. How pretty are these Pottery Barn inspired candles? They even smell as good as they look.
Take some leftover wallpaper scraps and wrap your books simply by folding. You now have a beautiful new decorative dust cover for your book. Stack wallpaper covered books on top of an antique or vintage typewriter. Fill an entire shelf to create a color-coordinated wall of books.
First, we're going to spray paint. I'm using Rust-Oleum Satin Heirloom White and Rust-Oleum Stone. We're going to take some painter's tape. You kind of want to rough tear one edge of it. We're going to put this along the bottom. I'm using a craft paint and I'm just using brushed gold. You kind of want to make it look like the paint is kind of tearing and you can see underneath it. All right, so here's the finished product and I absolutely love how they turned out.
Take a bowl and cover the bottom in plastic wrap. Cover the entire bowl base with Mod Podge on the plastic wrap. Take rope and begin from the center of the base and wind it around towards the outer part of the bowl. Once completely dry, remove rope layer from the bowl and any excess plastic wrap. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy modern DIY storage and decor bowls for your home for less than $15.
The first step is just to make sure this is really clean. To start with, I want to use some gold leaf adhesive. I am just going to let this sit for about 20 minutes. Now we're going to get out the gold leaf sheets. Now you want to use a tweezer and a dry paintbrush with this. As I'm going along, I'm going to use the paintbrush and it's going to pull away any of the excess. And then we're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're going to add some paint, but we're going to paint the inside of this vase. And it has the look of a white ceramic vase with a beautiful antiqued kind of rustic gold finish at the top.
Have a cylinder vase from the Dollar Tree, this epoxy pen holder on Amazon. And I'm gonna basically just trace. All right, so now that I have hollowed out the center, I wanna make sure that the paint doesn't necessarily sink in to the foam. So to create a barrier and something that'll dry relatively quickly, Mod Podge or like Elmer's glue, we're going to use a Dixie Belle paint. These two foam boosters really have transformed into chic and modern decor.